to think along this line and call on the private sector to support the initiatives. I think they are trying. But speaking, sir, on the civil window that was created in AU under your when you were there, you know, it's a matter of intent and reality. What we put on paper in charters, what we could be different from what is actually happening. I have never gotten any invitation to any AU forum, and I've never even heard about any Bible communication. And that is one of the reasons we're saying we need to engage with AU. So maybe when that engagement starts, we'll begin to know what AU has put in place that should engage, help this kind of dialogue that we need in Africa. Two is for intra-regional trade. I think you're spot on, my friend from Uganda. Infrastructure remains a problem. You know, somebody asked me the point about why regional unions are not working. And I said, first, we need to understand why they were set up. One, you have the movement of goods and services across countries. Two, movement of money. And three, movement of people. Now, I do not think that we have done anything, we've done much to address what will help us move goods and services easily from one country to the other, and that supports the point you raised. And this is where an organization like AU, if today's AU was beginning to address true economic issues, should begin to see how countries can be encouraged and how incentives can be put in place. You know, we say China is coming to Africa to take advantage of opportunities here, land, commodities, natural resources. But we do not have a concerted platform for engaging with China as a continent. China go to Zambia, they engage one-on-one with Zambia. They go to DRC, they engage one-on-one with DRC. If we, as a continent, engage with China and say, these are continental priorities. One, this kind of infrastructure. Two, this, China will do it. So the challenge for us, I go back, sir, to AU. AU should begin, anyway, the private sector will engage AU to make some of these things begin to happen also. The issue of climate change, agri support, etc., and the last point that was made here also about finance. I think I'll take both together. We need to understand also the structure of financial services balance sheet, the balance sheet of the financial service sector, and also the nature of financial services industry. Because at times we think everything about financial services is commercial banking. No, there are some projects we need venture capitalists to come in to handle. Some projects you need angel capitalists, some initiatives that you also need the likes of, the social or impact investors. So there are, but what we see is everyone thinks that commercial banks hold the key to every financial problem. Not quite, but it's also a sign of the state of development or underdevelopment of our financial system in Africa, which I think is beginning to change. So today, beyond commercial banks, you have some venture capital firms that are coming up, not in the scale and the sophistication of what you have in US, but the journey has started. You also have like the Tony Elumelu Foundation Impact Investment, where impact investing, where like in Tanzania, we invested in a Matanga farm in Tanzania, and not necessarily because of the profit return at the end of the day, but as a way of catalyzing farming in that part of Africa. And there are a lot of others, I believe, Legatum and the likes. Just before we came in, I told the mine director and the investment executive of Legatum that I would like the chief investment officer of the Tony Elumelu Foundation Health Audience to be in touch with him to see how we can, on a collaborative basis, begin to also partner to deal with some of the opportunities that we see in Africa, and based on our understanding of the risks and realities on ground, how we can support People like you, people like Sam, people like Bola, people like my friend from Uganda. Thank you very much.
That on occasions, because we act in an honest way, I suspect some of our businesses have been held back as a result. But it's much more important in life to be able to sleep well at night than to gain an advantage over somebody else.
But how do you do business in an environment where not everyone is prepared to play fair? There are still businesses that are prepared to pay bribes. There are some that are prepared to ignore ethical constraints that otherwise you would consider, but you still have to operate in the same competitive environment. How do you deal with that?
Well, you just get on and do it, and if necessary, you make sure that those people who are behaving badly, you help catch them out. Because I think it's up to all of us to make sure that if people are behaving corruptly, that they get their just desserts.
But you do realize it's a lot tougher for some of the people in this audience because they are working in environments where there are issues of relationships with the politician.
Well,
they have to deal with this situation on a daily basis.
They don't have to deal with it at all. They just simply have to say, this is wrong. And if they know that somebody's doing it, they should tip off the newspapers. They should tip off. They should get it exposed. And that's what the press is there to do. That's what the BBC is there to do. That's what and once you start exposing some of these politicians, they'll stop asking people for bribes. I think it's incredibly important. I mean, I've always worked from home, and I've actually tried to encourage other people who work within Virgin, if they want to work from home, and trying to encourage our chief executives of our various companies to encourage that, because literally had my children crawling around underneath my feet while I was trying to build the Virgin Empire. So we spent a lot of time together, and I learnt the art of delegation from quite a young age. So make sure that I get longer holidays, with the family than perhaps is normal, and again, try to encourage our chief executives who run our companies to try to give people a better work home balance. Because I think that's extremely important. If somebody wants to, go off for 6 months on unpaid leave, say, they should be allowed to. If somebody wants to work part time, they should be encouraged to work part time. If somebody wants to job share, they should be, allowed to job share. If somebody wants to work home on Fridays or Mondays, they should be allowed to do that. And I'm sure that some of my chief executives are going to be
oh, really?
Going, what the hell's he saying? But I really do feel that in the world today, you've got I don't know what the unemployment rate in Kenya is like, but let's say it's 20%. You've got 80% of the people working 48 weeks a year, having say one month holiday. And then you've got 20% of the people, completely out of work. A lot of those people who are working full time, if they weren't going to be frowned on by their bosses, they would be willing to go part time, or they'd be willing to job share, and that would then create jobs for those people who are out of work. And I do think that countries should try to share the work around in difficult times, and even if it means people are told that they have to reduce the amount of hours they work in order to make sure that every single person has a job, because the debilitating effect of not working is enormous. And in difficult times, I think the people should demand full employment, even if it means that.
Sir Richard, it's nice of you to say, but we're in a very difficult time in the world where people just having a job is good enough, let alone having the expectation of a decent pension or the decent work environment. People are forced to make very difficult choices these days, and it really, it brings me to one central theme of the conversation that we're having, and that's about doing business and doing it ethically. Now, as you very well know, there's a lot of anger towards people in business, financial sector. I don't know if they've picketed your place, but if you are the chief executive of a financial institution, you might be a bit hesitant to come into a public forum like this. First of all, do you empathize with those, not just in Europe, but those here on the continent who are tremendously frustrated by the status quo, by the relationship between the haves and the have-nots?
I do emphasize, sorry, I'm a dyslexic, emphasize. Thank you. First of all, I think the Wall Street movement is a positive movement. I think the banking community almost destroyed the world through pure greed and selfishness, and certain countries have overspent dramatically and almost brought their countries to their knees. So I think peaceful protests around the world were almost needed. And I think the business community, I mean, there are some businesses that were guilty. I think the vast majority of businesses weren't guilty and are run by decent people. But I think it is a wake-up call to all businesses and anyone who's working for a business. And I mean, I've just put out a book called Screw Business as Usual. Actually, the BBC would only let me use the word screw once, so and rename the book Business as Usual. But anyway, the aim of the book is to try to get businesses worldwide, obviously to continue to worry about the bottom line, obviously to continue to worry about the good that they're doing as a business and trying to make a difference to people's lives, obviously to worry about their own staff and making sure that they're well motivated and they're proud of the job they're working for. But as business leaders, we can make a real difference in the world. I mean, we're entrepreneurial. We can use our entrepreneurial skills to get out and tackle a lot of the problems in the world. And I think sometimes in a better way, perhaps, than politicians are capable of, or sometimes the social sector. So business should play its part, I think, in being a force for good.
So, Richard, we'll speak about it in greater detail because I want to talk about Screw Business as Usual. And I mean, we can say it as many times as we want here, but you look at the titles of your book: Losing My Virginity, Screw It, Let's Do It, Business Trip Bear. Well, there's an underlying theme here, isn't it?
Well, the only book that didn't
Business
sell,
Butt Naked. That's mine.
The only book that didn't sell very well was called Reach for the Skies. I wanted to call Getting It Up, but they wouldn't. Publishers wouldn't let me. And I'm sure I would have sold more if I had.
Not if you put me on the cover. Now, Virgin Unite is obviously a very important part of what you're doing now. It's more of I would say what you're calling capitalism 2.0. I want us to pause for a second and take a look at a video. It'll be up on your screens right now. We'll come back and talk about whether it really is.